Alright. Hi everybody, welcome to the stream. Today we're going to continue the string view refactor going on in my game project. I'm actually not in my game project file right now, I'm in my example project to show off something I was curious about yesterday. I spotted, while I was reviewing the VOD of what I modified yesterday, and I noticed I did something very terrible. And I'm glad I caught it, because we would have found out sooner or later when we ran the code. But let's go to the data file header real quick and take a look at the container that holds all the configuration data. In storage, it is located somewhere around here. Okay, right here. I made a mistake. This vector of objects should not be holding a string view and a data file, but rather a string and a data file. The reason being that we can't actually store, in terms of the content, the string itself. Like, this right here is supposed to be the string of the key representing the data file. So it in turn is like another storage container that holds something. This one's fine, this is supposed to be a string, and this one's fine, that's supposed to be a string view because it just gets hashed into a key. So whether you pass in a string or string view here, both get hashed the same way. So yeah, realizing that the return value for isComment will then become a string as well, because the data passed in will be the same as the vec of objects. So yes. Although we could pass in a string view here, but we would have to convert it, and I think the idea of this function is that it gets used somewhere in here where it's returned from mvec objects. So let me take a look at that real quick. Okay, so yes, isComment is used in here under get ordered keys. So with get ordered keys, we're filtering out an mvec objects. So yes, this needs to be the string itself. Now it's still a view, so it's not really that expensive because it's just looking into the content that exists inside of here. So that is correct. Just one big thing I wanted to point out, and I have my example open here because I wanted to demonstrate how you can't actually store a vector of string views unless the lifetime of the strings that the string views are looking into also continue to exist. So that's what this example is for. Naturally, if I run this and it holds the string views that are dynamically generated, this is just a small loop that generates a 1 to 20 character, or excuse me, 1,000 strings that have between 0 and 20 characters with random letters between A through Z. So we can see here, since they're getting stored in a string view vector and they are dynamically generated, when we look at the contents of said vector, we're going to find that it's full of garbage data, minus the first two. The reason why these two work is because the const char stars, or I guess the strings here, are stored in a memory location in your program. So because of that, these have a direct view into those locations. But for everything else, it's just random garbage data. This is nonsense. The correct implementation or correction for this is to change the string views to instead have the vector store strings. That way, anything you generate will store an actual copy of that string, and you can see suddenly the data is no longer garbled. So that's just a proof of concept to show that indeed, if we got to a point where we ran that program, we would find that all these data values inside of mvec objects would have been mangled data values, which is why we fixed that. So that was just a correction I had to make earlier when I noticed that. The next thing we're going to look at is this error we've been kind of avoiding. It's been popping up over and over as we tried to compile. I don't see it right now, but I'm sure it'll pop up again. But we are in the middle of a standard string view refactor where every configuration value in our program is going to handle string views instead of strings. Mostly because I just wanted to try and see if I can convert my entire project to use string views. Now right here, we currently have an _s function, which is supposed to return a string from a configuration file. But we know converting a string view to a string is quite costly, so I almost want to just deprecate this function or completely remove it. As in, the only way to read in a string key from our configuration is via a string view key instead. So I think we'll go with that. So let me quickly find the original _s function. Or excuse me, not this one, but the actual implementation of it. And instead we'll just convert to string view. Now, let's see here if anything has to change. We can see here that we have to generate a string from a const char star anyway, so I feel like we would have done the same in either scenario, right? So can we generate a string view from this, is the question? Get property itself requests a string view. So I think naturally, yes, we would request that. We would just pass it in temporarily, and it would output that for us. I think that's how that works. I haven't actually tried that one before. This says, cannot overload functions distinguished by return type alone. This should be a string view now. Returning that information. Because get string, it does return a const standard string right now. But it's a string reference. But MV content I think holds... I kind of want the string view from the string inside this vector, because that's not moving. So in my opinion, we also change this to now return a string view of whatever string is inside of m_v content. I think that will work fine. Yeah, that sounds good. And perhaps get full string would also do the same thing. Retrieves the string value of a property. No, it's got to return a brand new string because it's essentially constructing one. So that one won't work. But yes, _sv is now implemented, and we go back to the location where this compile error occurred, and now we can add together strings and string views. At least I hope we can. Key is a string view. This is a string view. Does this not work? I'm confused. Because that returns a string view. It should be able to be added to this string view. Which should be added to this one. Although, I don't know why it's a const... Well, I guess that's fine. And string view there. No operator plus matches operands string view plus string view. I guess you have to assemble a new string through those, which is kind of interesting. It's like, I didn't even think about that. You can't add two string views together, can you? Because you would have to store it in something. That's fascinating. Okay, in that case, can we like standard format it? I feel like we might have to do something like a standard format where we add in 3 variables together, or 4 variables together, kind of like this. Although since these two are already defined, it would look more like this, right? .png. I feel like that's a way we could do it. It's kind of strange, but I think it works. It makes sense to me. I'm just trying to think if there would be any other method to add in string views together. But then again, that doesn't really make sense because you form a new string out of it, so the return type will be different, which is probably why that's not allowed in the first place, because it will inherently turn into a string naturally. So you have to have something that will convert those for you. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so again, we have to do the same changes to things like this, but then again, we can't add string views together. So once again, we're doing another standard format here, which is just a little different. I wouldn't say it's annoying. I would even argue that it's more readable than a bunch of plus signs to concatenate strings together. But obviously it's a little more verbose as well. So it's just interesting. Where's my... Here it is. Cool. So that's that, and there are more of these that we're having problems with. Item key is a string. Just say this is a string view right now. And we go down here. Equipable class wants an unordered set of strings. So we could convert this to string views as well. That's fine. Sets are also require hashes, so that works out very well. This returns a string view, so we're just going to update this to accept a string view instead. It's also inlined, so I think that's fine. So that should work well. And then we have item conversions, which hold a string. Again, this map can hold string views instead. And then we go down here. Item data, presumably also holding strings. So we're going to see that as we reach into more and more of these data structures, that all the keys are probably just turning into string views now, naturally, instead of strings. So equipable class, again, an unordered set of strings. Conversion to string view. Down here, we're doing concatenation again. Looks like it will be this plus a fragment name. So we convert it like so. And then we have the same thing, it looks like. And then the same thing down here. So I'm seeing we have it in 4 places, right? Maybe it's better to just call it the fragment image or something, just to reduce the amount of extra code we're writing. So this could be a const. Well, string views should always be const anyways, because they're essentially references. String view, fragment, image, file name, or yeah, file name is this. And then we can supply that in here and substitute it in all of these as well. Just to reduce the... we're turning that to string. Just to reduce the amount of bloat there is there. It looks like this is incorrect though. This should be wrapped around GFX. Dot sprite. Yeah, it looks like I messed that up when I wrote that, or overwrote it. Then down here we have the same thing. Still. Fragment image file name. And then down here, once again, looks like we have it in a lot of places, so yeah, then we have what looks to be essentially the same thing again. It's just it's not the file name, but the icon name. So that's interesting. And then the fragment description. Then we go down here. We have getString, and the getString here returns a string view. So is getString here now going to be getString view? I guess so, right? Because if we're getting it straight from the configuration file, then they're all stored as strings, so we naturally get a string view out of it. So I would say so. we can turn this into a string. I'm gonna call it string view now. And I'm just gonna rename it manually. That way we have to go through all the calls of this and ensure that it's working the way we expect. So then get string now returns string views. So this should resolve properly. And then all the calls to it, we're gonna have to go through and manually vet again. Let's see here, this needs to accept a string view. Down here, he is not a string. And add set bonus is asking for a copy of a string, which I find interesting. I think that's a mistake or laziness, but we can accept instead a string view, which probably means sets is also going to need to change to be a map of string views instead. And thus, set name, which is a string view, should now work here. We just have to adjust the definition of this function. And then we're back up here for something. Sets is now adjusted, where add set bonus accepts a set name. Sets is mapped to a string. It needs to be a string view, which we already adjusted. Is it? Oh, okay. That's the actual setup initializer for it because it's static. And then down here, we have a macro. Oh boy. It looks like this reads from getString as well, so what is going on there? So it looks like if Steam user stats... Oh, I see. We just added a wrapper for checking to see if this function even works to begin with, but inside of here, this won't compile if any of these maps, like unlock, is still uses strings instead of, let me see. So unlock is from data file, data get property, returns data file. So unlock here, weapon max level, get int. I guess the get strings would be the problem. Is there no C string? Let me see. Yeah, there's no C string for string views, which is kind of unfortunate. I guess we would do, because this is only, well, this is when we enhance an item. I guess that's okay to do a conversion there. It's not a big deal. I wonder if there's a better way to do this. Let's see. Get C string from standard string view. I find that interesting that that's not a thing. Unlike standard string, there's no standard string view C string, which will give you a null terminated character array. Simply do a standard string view object.cstring to get a guaranteed null terminated temporary copy. I guess that's the only way to do it, and I guess it's not too expensive, especially not here. If we have to do it on every frame of the game, then I would be very concerned. If you know for sure that you have a null terminated string in your view, you can use string view data. If you're not, you should reconsider whether using a string view in the first place is a good idea, since if you want a guaranteed null terminated string is what you want. Okay, so you have to make sure your string view contains the entire chunk of the string, otherwise doing a conversion to C string might not result in a null terminated string, which means if you read it in as a string, it'll just go on into oblivion and you get trash data. So this returns a pointer to the underlying character array. The pointer is such that the range data to data plus size is valid, and the value in it corresponds to the values of the view. So if at any point the view ends up being shrunk, like you cut off the beginning or the end, then you're going to run into an issue where you're not getting a null terminated string. So it's just more safe to guarantee that's null terminated by converting it to a standard string. And as long as speed is not an issue, like in this function, then that would be the safer approach. Yes, here we're grabbing the entire string, so we know it should be null terminated, but I think being safe here is the better choice. Also, we don't want to cast, we want to initialize. Big distinction there between curly braces and parentheses. I think there's one more get string in here somewhere. Yeah, down here. So we want to do that for here as well. And that should fix that macro. Now we go down here. And we got... Okay, so here we're trying to do get class and return an unordered set. This is probably now a string view because the internal data object is a string view now, or an unordered set of a string view. Equipable class is an unordered set of a string view. Yeah, that should work. Get my class, though, does not return it correctly. Okay. So are we good now? We did not change it, did we? Okay, there it is. Cool. And then down here, we have something similar. We have a get class function that needs to return a string view instead of a string. Okay, so that's done with the item CPP file. Moving on. Still got plenty more to do, but we're making progress. So next in util data file, we have a lot of C-string conversions. So this is where it's going to get worrisome, right? Like, this might be where we have to use the data pointer directly instead. So we just have to confirm that what we get out of this is the full string and not a subsection of the string. So get string here returns the full thing, we know that. So we're going to do .data, which will return it for us. But again, we just have to be aware that doing .data means that we're aware that it can't be, it has to be null terminated, or something bad will happen, right? So then we go down here, we got a couple more. So we got a pushback for vec objects with a string, but this is a string view and a data file. This is for the operator here, which is a pretty, this is a pretty big deal. So vec objects is going to push back a name here. If we're referencing the string view that is located in map objects, we should be good, right? In theory. But what happens? Yeah, no, we should be good, because a vector might resize, but a map objects will not, in theory, right? I don't think you lose the pointers when this happens. Like, it won't be like a reallocation or anything. At least I don't think it would be. I'm pretty sure that's how that works, but we can check. I just want to be certain, right? You never know. So we're going to go to standard unordered map. So it's an associative container that contains key value pairs with unique keys. Internally, elements are not sorted in any particular order, but organized into buckets. Which bucket an element is placed into depends entirely on the hash of its keys. Two keys are considered equivalent if the map's key equality predicate returns true. The swap functions do not invalidate any of the iterators, which is a good sign that the pointers don't get touched, but they do invalidate the iterator marking the end of the swap region. References and pointers to either key or data stored in the container are only invalidated by erasing that element, even when the corresponding iterator is invalidated. Okay, so that's a good note. The references and pointers will always be valid, or should be valid, in all instances. Unless we get rid of it. Which makes sense. So that's good to know. And because we know that, and vec objects literally is just containing a look into anything in map objects, what I said before about this should be a string, now our understanding internally is that this can be a string view. But I am going to add a comment here about that, because I think it's, if I were to just look at it, I would be like, oh, this is a red flag, right? Because a string view to a vector of string views is usually a red flag of like, oh, how are you going to store that data in there? What is it referencing? The first item in the pair is a mapping to a string from m_v content per the operator hard brace function, and the other function is like set property, I think. Yeah, like any of these, right? Set string, set whatever. Actually, it doesn't do that, which is interesting. It's just m_v content. The operator array needs that in order to read from it. Hold on, I'm confused. Right, because... oh, I see, because it calls it anyways when it does this. So that makes sense. When items get inserted into the map. So that's how that works. Having that internal understanding of that makes it clear that we can do a string view there, and it will be safe. So what I mentioned earlier was actually... I mean, it still applies, it's still true in most instances, but in this case, we can understand that our function is handling it correctly, so we're good there. So we're gonna place back here our standard pair of standard string view, comma, data file. Yes. Excellent. Back up here, get ordered keys needs to be updated yet again, because that changed, which means is comment needs to be updated again, which is fine. And then here, under operator brackets, we need to do a conversion, or we have to return a string view instead, which is probably going to introduce a lot more errors, so we have to be prepared for that, of course. But that is what it's going to do now, at least in theory. Let me see, get property, string view, that returns a string view, so this should return a string view, so that should be good, right? At least I would hope. Okay, so then we can move on to more fun, more operator S's to fix, more everything to fix, honestly. So here, we got a lot of underscore S's. In fact, at this point, I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a global find and replace for this. I think that would be a great idea. I don't know where my window is. Control-Shift-H is supposed to bring this up, but it doesn't. So we're looking for underscore S to replace with underscore SV. So we're gonna find all instances of this. More than 10,000 results? Okay, cancel the search. Realistically, this needs to only be for actual string operators, so we're gonna put a quotation mark there, and that should reduce it significantly. Here we go. So these are all the places where we load up a string from the configuration file. As you can see, 207 matches is a lot. I'm going to see if any of these look strange at all. I want to say most of these don't, but I already can see anything with plus signs is concatenation, and we already know with concatenation, we can't do that with string views, so we're going to have to change some of those to reflect that. We can see here there's quite a few of those, so we're gonna have to go through all this and update that. So all these have to read in as string views, and then we'll do... Now what we could do, I think this would be interesting, what if we write our own string view concatenation function? Would that be nice? I feel like that would be nice, and it just return a string for us, right? I feel like that's very doable and would save us a lot of time, because I would hate to write out standard format a bunch, but how would we write it then? We'd have to say that every plus creates a new string, and I think that's the issue. If you have to do this plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, each one is creating a new string and combining them together. That's pretty wasteful, isn't it? Unless we make it smarter, like... But each operator plus call is its own individual thing. So yes, if you have a lot of pluses put together, that will actually be costly because you're creating a new string each time. Whereas with standard format, you could do it in one go. I don't know. It's more beneficial to actually write these out proper, right? I think so. So it looks something like that. This would be a string view. That would be a string. Now, if we get strings out of these, which we have to because they're not stored in memory anywhere, then we can pass those along to everything else. So adding all these together should work, right? No, it shouldn't work. I think the IntelliSense just hasn't caught up. Because that doesn't make sense. That shouldn't work. According to all of our rules. Let me check something real quick. How we concatenated stuff up here together. I want to make sure we didn't do something dumb with that string view up here. Okay, so with this, we did get a string out of it, so that makes sense. I just want to make sure we didn't accidentally make another string view out of it, because that would have been bad, right? Okay, so it looks like IntelliSense caught up to us here. So we're going to do, and now it's just immediately gone, which is absolutely hilarious. But yeah, same deal. We're just gonna keep modifying these to reflect that. Here's that. There is this one. Now, if we really wanted to, we could write like get path from configuration value. Like we can see these all use the same pattern, right? So writing a little lambda that does that could be immensely helpful in the future. So down here, this would be a string view. And then in here, we have to do a standard format, which would be config path plus item directory plus config. Oops. Just like that. And then here, read in the game name. It's a string view. And then all of these. So let's go back to our list of string views that we found. I don't know where the find went. It went somewhere. But let's just find all again. Let's see here. So we're looking for underscore s, not sv. So svs means we've already changed them. Yeah, any place that has these pluses, the concatenations, we gotta adjust. So we can see here there's a lot of these, right? I think a lambda is very much needed for this because there are so many of these to go through. So naturally, this doesn't exist. So we have to put string view here. It looks like it's still, a file system still accepts a string view. That needs to be a string view. And then we're gonna write a small lambda. Here, let's just call it config path, and we're going to pass in or get config path, passing in any config name we're interested in. So standard string view, config key, and then returning a standard format. So this returns a const, oops. This returns a const standard string. Standard format, going to be these two combined together with whatever argument with config path, which we're going to pass in here for the capture. And so it will be config path, comma, whatever config key we have here, but we have to call operator underscore sv on it. So operator underscore sv. It's kind of strange because usually you don't call it like this. Also, I think it's underscore operator sv. Hold on, I gotta find it. Where are these? Operator space quotation marks underscore sv. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. And for that you pass in the const char and a size t containing the length. So length like so. we know the string view is completely null terminated because it's the entire thing, so we can pass in data there. And that should be okay. So with this function defined, we can now just call getConfigPath with whatever the name of the key is. So these are all going to look like this now. And we can do that for all of them. So we will. Let's do a find and replace. You can see there's plenty of them here, which is why I did this in the first place. And we're going to replace config underscore path space plus space with get config path, and then replace the underscore s semicolon with close parens or quotation mark close parens semicolon, and that will adjust all of those for us. And then we just have to do a couple of these manually. So that's a string view. This is a... Some of this didn't change, right? Or it looks funky. Like get config path here would mean that originally there was indeed something there. So if I did this, that would work. Although config is a string view, so I still have to combine the two. So that kind of sucks. I guess we'll do that one manually. So 1, 2, 3 config path, comma, this one, like so. And then down here we have essentially the same thing, looks like 4 combination values. So we have config path, we have this class directory, then we have cl, and then .txt is just on its own. Like so. Alright, there seems to be an error with something up here. Let me go back a little bit. Did I miss something? No. Looks like IntelliSense just catching up. Okay, we got this, which needs to be combined with assets. And pack key. I think pack key is just by itself. Yes. Now we are down here somewhere. It looks like this is only from scripting, but we're going to have the same issues, so I'm going to take care of that even though this code doesn't compile on this OS. I already know we're going to have problems with it, so... And we can see it gets converted to a C string. So, luckily, converting it to standard format, we won't run into any issues converting it to a C string. So it's going to be /assets, add in save file path plus system.config. Wait a second. Back up a minute. That looks like that just is on its own. These two are being combined though. Yeah, that was a comma there, so I'm like, oh, that's actually an argument. 1, 2 arguments. So we got that plus this. So that could really go up here. System.config. I assume the save file path will have the / included, so that should be fine. And then converted to a C string. Let me just confirm I converted that correctly. So originally it was save file path string plus system.config. This is the equivalent of that, just in string view form. Yes. So that looks good. And then we have to convert this one down here as well. So it's essentially the same thing. Right there. Set stage marker probably doesn't accept a string view. So we will change that, which means probably the data structure underneath does not accept string views either. And it will compare to a string, which is fine. And then what else do we got? These two have to be combined. 1, 2. Well, this one's just here. Added to this key. Alright, what's next? There's some errors really far down here. Okay. String views. Map story exists. This accepts a const standard string ref. So change that to a string view. I assume story level data does not, yeah. That needs to accept string views. And the definition of it needs to change to, oh, there we go. Hey, what else? There's one more a little further down. It's like right around here. Oh, okay, these two string views. We got more errors popping up here. Probably now that we've changed some other functions. They're popping up here. Get string has to return a string view. Get string list. We'll be back. It accepts a string key, which is kind of weird. I'm just going to turn the key into a view because get property should accept a view. Yes. Yeah, I'm like, it's kind of weird that it's accepting a copy of a string. I think that's really strange. Same with this one too. Like, why are we accepting copies of strings here? It's very weird. So I'm just adjusting all these to accept string views now. They all run into that same issue. Okay. Alright, we got more to deal with. So the return value here cannot convert that. So data file string data probably needs to hold a string view now. But we have to look and see if that's allowed or not. Because the key, I think, is very temporary. So data file string data will hold a key of its own, and I think it needs to. I think that's by design. Get string list. Yeah, essentially it's going to return... Wait, is it? Let me see. So what does this do? This holds a reference to a data file. Yeah, what is this for? Concatenate. It iterates through all the values and puts them together. So I called it get string list because of that, maybe? Get string list. Versus getting a particular string or getting the 0th item. Get every item. That would be the use case for this. So storing the key is important. So yes, we will do a conversion here to a string, but I don't know where this is actually used. Let's first see where this is used, because it might be slow to actually do this. This is not used anywhere. This function doesn't get used. What about this one? Did I just make these up, but I don't actually use them? Yeah, this doesn't get used for anything. Huh. I'm like, I don't see why I would ever use these. And it turns out that we don't. So I think I'm deleting them. Yeah, why do they exist? Maybe I had an idea of using these originally for something very specific. It looks like it does something super specific, but we don't need it anymore. So these can all go away. Which means I think those data structures go away too. Let me look for those data types real quick. Data, file, bool data, double data. Yeah, like what are these for? Why do they exist, right? So there are a couple places where this is used or mentioned. It's used in the class itself. Operator _b returns the array itself. Okay, so they are used here. Contemplating string types for 1 hour is peak C++ content. Indeed. Welcome. But yes, this is an attempt at a giant refactor to use string views. There's a reason why I didn't want to ever do this, because this literally changes everything about the project. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if 1, I like it, and 2, if it even works. I mean, it should work, assuming I'm carefully looking at all this, but I don't know if I'll like it. We'll have to see. Internal debate, right? If I actually will like it. Yeah, this is weird. According to this, I guess I'm gonna see if I use this operator at all. Not at all. Nothing found. Okay, what about this one? Or this one? I feel like I made these just for compatibility purposes and then never bothered to use them. Do they have any reason to exist? It doesn't look like it. It looks like there was originally a plan to output an array with them, but they ended up being completely useless. So I'm gonna argue that they go, considering they also have a standard string creation there, which is also strange. So yeah, I think those all go. I think it's safe to say we're done with those. Okay. So what's going on here? These all need to be string views, so I missed one. Okay. Then we got another error. Down here. Where are you? At least according to IntelliSense there was something down here, but let's just recompile. But naturally, oh yeah, we're still working on these, that's what it is. So regardless, we're probably a little further in here, so let's modify find and update this, see where we're at. Okay, player.h. Okay, it wasn't finished. So we've gone down to about here. Yeah. Continuing, pretty much the same deal. Like, I'm just thinking right now, will this ever be a big hurdle in terms of development time or speed? And I want to say not really, but it will be a general improvement in performance when it comes to string lookups and such, which there are quite a lot of, so if anything, at least there will be some speed improvements from doing this, but obviously the requirements to change everything is massive. And there's still a lot of places where we have to concatenate a bunch of strings together, so I guess doing that is like, doing that manually is a pain. But we'll get through it. Somehow. Okay, so there's that one. Key is, I guess, a string view, which we assume map name is a string, but if we turn it into a string view, then I'm guessing the structure that holds the map names is now going to have to change as well. Yes, so map data is now going to have a map with a string view instead. And then here, I was complaining about something, but I guess I missed it. And down around here, there's probably more as well. Here's another one. Oh, we already fixed that one, so that's old. And we have these. Okay. I'd imagine with the amount of strings we've been changing so far, from the looks of it, that this is probably another... This is probably like a 2-day project, from the looks of it. It looks like we'll get through a majority of it today. We do have quite a bit of coding time today. And then tomorrow we'll probably be ready to compile it. That's my guess. So that means we'll probably be back to our regularly scheduled programming. Today is Wednesday? On Friday. Yay! Hopefully, right? Who knows what else will happen? Backdrop name is probably a string. Yeah. Do that. And for drop. 100 people actually say that. A foredrop versus a backdrop. I think it's supposed to be called foreground, not foredrop. I think that's hilarious. Anyway, this just needs to be SV. That probably changes this right here. Now that's good. Okay. Now we're here. We got 4 things to combine. Wait, no we don't. 3 things to combine. 1, 2, 3. Or, no wait, there are 4 things to combine here. Unless I missed something. 1, 2... Oh, never mind, it's just 2 things. these two are just arguments for the load resource function. Yeah. Always have to be careful with this. Is standard map string view something valid? Yes, it's valid. Any string views that are sent to a map are just immediately hashed as if it was a string. Yeah, that's one thing that was kind of confusing about it at first. It took me a while to think about, like, oh, how would we ever use string view for a data structure if we have to store it anyway? The memory isn't copied, right? It's just when you say, like, map whatever string view is, that string, the string view immediately, whatever range it is, immediately gets hashed, and then it accesses that member inside that map. So you don't have to store it in memory in order to access a key from that map. Now, if the something is a string view, that's when you have the problem, right? Or if you have like a standard vector of string views, then you run into a problem unless those string views are going to exist for the entire lifetime of that vector, which usually isn't the case. Okay. So yeah, it's a little strange, but that's how that works. It took a while for me to wrap my head around it, and it is a little strange. At first, I looked at string view and I'm like, it's practically useless because anytime I would want a string view, I'm converting it to a string anyways, so I lose any speed or advantage from trying to use a string view in the first place. But then I realized that string views can be put into hash maps. And that's kind of when things changed. Once I realized that, was it actually allows you to essentially access maps without having to store the strings in anywhere but the places you actually need to access them from. So this is a string view. This gets formatted to be 123.png. Oops. The .png is its own thing. Okay. How would you add something to the hash map though? Do you manually copy it to heap? No, you just add it like you normally would. You access it via the string view key and then you insert it. Whatever you're inserting is not temporary, of course. It'll be copied over. So... oops, that's not what I wanted. Yes, of course. You have to grab whatever... you have to be able to reproduce that string to access the key again, of course. So... a standard string view that exists, like hello, and like I had this example the other day where I was just messing with it. Like you have another string hello, and then if you string 2, string 1, and our map, right? So it looks something like this with string views as a key. And essentially you can just think of it as like whenever you have to access something from the map, the string view is essentially hashed the same way as a string would. So, I don't know, we're just gonna store numbers in here. It doesn't matter what it stores, right? Map. And it would be a map insert, or you can use the bracket notation if you want, but map.insert s1 with... oh, I don't know. Let's put the number 4 in there. You can do map insert s2 with some number like 6 or something. Both would work because both end up getting hashed to the same thing, at least we found out. And if you had a string view that had lowercase hello, it would hash to the same thing as this, so then doing s3, comma 10 would replace the second value, so you only end up with 2 keys, even if you have a string versus a string view. In terms of going out of scope, your program should, so you can see hello, comma 6, big hello, comma 4, insert doesn't actually insert unless it doesn't exist already. I guess I would have to do that to replace it. I think there's also insert or assign. I think that's another thing you can use. I don't usually use it though. So that would replace it with the 10. Regardless if you use a string or string view, because they both hash to the same value in a map. I guess what you're asking is, how does this stay in memory? Like, how does it know what that is? I guess we could test that. Let's do that. So I'm gonna undo all this because I have an example that just generates dynamically created strings, right? But let's change the structure that holds this to be an unordered map. And again, we'll do string views with a number. And I don't care what I put in here. I'm just gonna put 0. So let's see. I'll get rid of that. That was just testing a string. So this right here generates a 1,000 different strings from like 0 to 20 with random characters from A to Z, and then places them inside the structure. And I suppose we can give them the number of whatever iteration loop they generated on, so it would look like this. So in this scenario, rand string would always become out of scope and not exist anymore after it runs. So looks like you're right. This actually is mangled memory. All of this is nonsense. Alright, so let me think about this. So, because I realized that once I was debugging, I'm like, oh, I'm actually looking at the names of the keys. So the names of the keys do get saved in the map as well. I guess I never thought of the map as two objects. I always thought of it as one object that gets hashed and the object contained itself. Which means the method I want to use here doesn't work. Because this is essentially what we're doing is these keys we're inserting, yes, they do get hashed and they might get inserting or replaced in the correct values, but then these, you can see here, this map has the same keys, quote unquote, these mangled keys in many places. So we essentially just corrupted our map. Like, this map is completely useless and broken. So that's interesting. I'm kind of glad to realize this now. I didn't really think about that. That's a very good point. Okay, so I'm trying to think. So changing everything to string views in my game is futile because the structures that hold the string views need to have the strings stored somewhere. Some of the strings are stored because, for example, our config file has that data. So like, an example, my config file here it works fine in this case because what this does is it has, where are all the variables? Hold on. This is a good use case for a string view because the content is stored in a vector, and then we have two lookups, both a vector of objects which reference a string view connected to some kind of content. Like, this gets linked to a string inside this vector. This also gets linked to a string inside this vector. So this is an okay use for that, as long as the string exists somewhere in memory. But then for a map like for all these other maps I've been changing, right? Like right here, this backdrop data, yes, I can do a string view to display what the file name is for this renderable, but then when I do it again, it might not exist in there anymore. String views are probably the best thing to pass to function args, since you can pass a C string literal and it won't copy to a temporary standard string. A C string literal. Really? Let me see. That's interesting. Windows gave up. I don't know what Windows is doing right now, but it gave up. So I guess so. I guess my biggest issue is that a lot of times all my structures are standard strings. So if I have to save something into a structure, I have to convert it to a standard string every time. So that's always the issue, is that everything... My project has so many standard string dependencies that anytime where I think a standard string view would be useful, it turns out it just gets converted back to a string anyway. So there's like a lost optimization there every single time. Like on the surface level it sounds great, but I can never find a use case for them. And every time I try, it ends up just going back to being a string anyway. Okay. So I do have an issue now in that I think some of our string view stuff was started yesterday. So I'm gonna have to pull back the git commit I did yesterday and remove anything else I started on. I don't think we did much, but I think we did some basic stuff. Obviously everything I did today gets undone. And then we have to look at what we changed yesterday. So yesterday... Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, it wasn't as egregious as today's, but we're gonna have to go back. So we're going to reset to this commit. And now we can use this as a reference to everything we need to look at again. Or maybe we go the other way. I'm not sure which way to go. I think it's better to go from this commit and remove all the things that we've changed. I think that makes the most sense. I don't know if there's a fast way for me to get to... Okay, there is. But it's a temporary... Okay, it created a temporary file of the new file. But then I have to go and find the actual file myself, which I guess is fine, and adjust these myself. So it would be something like this. So changing that back to a string, for example. Audio. Hello? Where's audio? I don't think it even opened. It just ignored it opening. There we go. Add event volumes. Was accepting a string view. So this is what I mean, right? Like, sure, it would have been nice to pass in a string view for, like, the name of something, right? That seems very reasonable to do. But then we get to add event info here, and it's trying to insert it into a map. And if the map is not does not have a string view for a key, this is invalid syntax. I have to convert it to a string anyways. Why am I using a string view in the first place if I just have to do that anyway, right? Like, this happens every single time I'm trying to use a string view, so I'm thinking there must be some fundamental misunderstanding of why a string view can be useful. If you do standard format in the function, it's still useful. But I would argue that's still constructing a new string, right? And that's essentially the same thing as spending extra CPU cycles to do that. And there was one point where I did that enough where my game actually slowed down and I realized, oh, I'm doing this every frame. That's actually a really bad thing. We don't want to be constructing strings all the time when we can just pass a reference to it. Yeah. I've been having trouble trying to figure out, okay, where and why, where and how can we use string views such that we don't have to do copies? Because copying eventually has to happen somewhere in the process of adding it to your structure. So your program would have to be designed in a way where every structure that wants to hold these strings and let you use string views everywhere, all that has to be done initially. That is true. You can just use string views when you have to manipulate string stuff. You don't have to copy around more strings. Like, for example, a lot of that string concatenation I did earlier, some of the like string manipulation stuff could probably be reduced with string views. I think that's a good argument for it. I don't know. I'd have to really start a project with the intention of using string views to really start understanding how it's useful. Because every time I've tried, I've ended up in this situation or a similar situation like this. And once again, we're here. So I've done this like at least 20 or 30 times now, because every single time I've tried to do the same thing, not necessarily convert my whole project using string views, but trying to use any string view parameters anywhere. Every single time I've had to revert it. So yeah, I think it's just a cost of, or the result of starting with strings everywhere, right? I think that's the case. I think I can actually go through and just say, hey, copy paste this old file in, because I think if everything in here is old, just copy paste. Why am I changing it individually, right? That doesn't make sense. Okay. Yeah, because I have... Right now I'm doing const string refs when I could be doing const event refs, I guess. So I want to at least restore it to its original state, which would be nice. Okay, these... So anything related to monster strategies, that's fine. That actually should be done, because we shouldn't be copying strings anyways. So that was okay. Let me just make sure that's still in there. Yeah. There were a few I found where I was actually copying strings, so I'm just like, that's weird. Why are we doing that? So we're gonna undo this. That's a monster. Defines. This we just got rid of. That's okay. Do nothing. Wonder what this button does. Oh, that's neat. That only shows me changes. I like that. That'll be useful for this. Okay. It won't be useful for copy pasting though, I believe. Let me see. Will it do it? Oh, nice. It does. Okay. Well, that's handy. Okay. Environmental audio. It was kind of my fault for trying to combine two feature changes that are unrelated to each other at the same time, so that's my mistake. I just have one commit with two things in it. I think I just got lost in the sauce yesterday. So let me think what actually kicked this off, because I was looking at something made me say, oh yeah, we're gonna kick off string views because of X or Y. I need to look at what caused me to say that, because this wouldn't have cascaded into what it was if it wasn't for me looking at one particular thing and being like, oh, I can string view this now. So we were just doing monster strategies. That's all well and good. I was happy enough to do that, and everything was going great. I think it's the strategy names. I'm pretty sure. Let me see here. Because I think I looked at that and I'm like, oh, let me just pass a string view here. Right? I bet that's where it all started. String view strategy. Yes, that's where it all started. Because string view strategy is going to do a lookup into that map. So that's what kicked all this off. And that was in runstrategy.cpp. And yes, this structure right here, monster strategies, was where I decided, okay, I'm gonna start doing this. And it all went from there. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is storing the name, but then the strategy, no, something else. It was the strategy name going into these guys, yes. So I'm like, okay, I'll pass it in via string view, that's fine. But then I realized, let's see. So passing it in as a strategy here means that when I call run strategy in monster, I guess this is a good demonstration of why I can't use string view at all, because this will show like how this turns into, oh, I'm gonna have to do a conversion at some point and everything starts going to hell, right? So all our strategies call run strategy, which calls this function, which passes in the name. The name is a string, but the function accepts the string view, which is fine. That's an implicit conversion. But then anything else that would need it would need to be passed in via a string view. So I don't know if I did this, like right now it seems okay because name is I don't have IntelliSense right now because my project is a little in a poor state, but strategy function itself, the name is a string, so that is fine. Being passed in as a string view parameter. Run strategy just needs the enum. So this was okay. I think I got another idea to start changing more things. Maybe from the config. Maybe. I'm starting to think maybe that's where it came from. Anyway, let me continue to do this and then we'll see where we're at. So I did environmental audio. That's done. I did item. Did I miss something? Giant octopus? No. Okay. So yes, item got a major change. Let me undo that. I think I spent the last like hour yesterday making these changes, so luckily undoing them is very fast. Okay. Item enchant. Thank you for pointing that out, by the way, before I went 6 to 8 hours deep into this and realized that everything just fell apart anyway. And I would have to start over. Well, not start over, but go back. I guess I just didn't really think about that. It made me rethink how maps work, I guess. Because I didn't really think about the key object, which has to be stored as well. I guess just internally, it needs to be hashed to figure out what buckets it would go into. Like, if I were to design a hash map, then yeah, I would use the object, obviously, to figure out what buckets to put it into to make the finding of the object faster in the map, but that doesn't necessarily mean the object isn't required. It itself still needs to be stored in there. And I thought more about it, I'm like, yeah, how do we retrieve the object from the map? Like, you can iterate through all the keys if you wanted to. How is that possible? Well, obviously you have to have access to the object. It's not just all hashes in there. Why would we touch mini... Oh! That's hilarious. I actually did modify mini audio by accident. Yesterday we did like a find and replace on all the double semicolons with single semicolons because I think I screwed up the find and replace earlier. So that actually touched all these infinite for loops. Well, not infinite, but for loops with no conditions, which I found one in my project as well, so I replaced that, not thinking maybe other people use this syntax too, which is absolutely hilarious. So that's funny. I was like, why is mini audio giving errors? That must be a cascading error. There's no way mini audio, a library I didn't write, could possibly have problems, right? Haha. Little did we know. We actually did touch it. That's funny. I'm like, wait, we're in mini audio, how's that possible? Alright, monster. Okay, so spawner list is not a thing anymore, so that will still go. I think most of this is set. I just have to see if there's any, like, string views. So there is. So we put string view in here, which, again, phase... I think this is where it all started, right? Because I'm like, okay, well, why don't I try using string view in other places? I think it was harmless in using it down here. Well, we don't even use it down here, honestly, but I think it was harmless to pass it into the strategy functions, but then I started changing it elsewhere, and that's when the problem began, because phase comes from the names of the strategies, and the names of the strategies come from my configuration file. So then I changed it in my configuration file, and everything messed up. So I think this is where the cycle all began. So I need to go in... Oh, that's not right. Or is it? It's not quite at the bottom. Well, run strategy is, but where's our string views? Because we need to replace those. So get modest stat bonuses needs to go here. This is the one where we have to do some changes individually, unfortunately. Strategy name. So is strategy name now a string view? Is that what happened here? Because I think that's what's... Yeah, okay. And that would be fine until I have to modify phase, right? Once I need phase, I need to convert strategy name to a string, and this is AI, monster AI code that runs every frame. So I can't be constantly looking this up via a string view, because this map requires them to be converted to strings. So that's always the issue, is like all my lookups would be inside a hash map that stores strings. It's like if there was some way to be able to read the string keys as string views, that would be great. Because I think they hash the same, which is fantastic, but they aren't accessible in the same way. Which to me is weird, but there must be a way to do it, right? There's gotta be a way to do it. Because that wouldn't make sense. I don't know, it's weird. But yeah, this was the reason this all started, was because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna pass in the string views of the strategy names, and then I realized it's incompatible with my map, so we can't even pass the monster strategy names as string views in the first place. Yeah. It really defeats a lot of the potential savings that I think string view has, which is unfortunate. Oh, okay. So it's almost like you did what I tried to do just now, thinking you could get away with it. Ah. Darn. Well, that sucks. Okay, anyways, I found basically the source of where this all started. So everything changes except for this line here. So I guess let me unsummarize this so we're not confused. So that goes away. Everything after this we're gonna just copy paste because we can. So that goes into monster. Let me just find that line real quick. Where's run underscore strategy? Everything from here down replaced. And then the monster header, likewise. I think the monster header is fine minus these functions I changed. Where the strategy name, yeah. So we can go back on these. Yeah, let's just say everything from here down should roughly be what I want. Probably got to fix like one or two more things, but that's roughly where we're at. Okay. Monster strategy helpers. So this is where I changed it to string view, so I'm gonna put it back to a string now. And then NPC. I think that was it for that file. Let me make sure that was the only change. +8. Yes, there's more down here. The define strategy stuff. Which, that's fine. Okay. I'll go get some sleep, have fun. As much as one can have fun while fixing C++ string handling issues. Thank you. At least, I appreciate you at least pointing it out, because that saves me quite a bit of time. In another universe, I would be doing this without realizing that was going to break everything, right? So, yeah. Thank you. I hope you have some great rest. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, man. Okay, that's just a typo. Did anything else change in here? No. I'm actually gonna leave that because that is a typo. This file probably has a bunch of string view stuff we have to undo. Yes. So back to that. So, for maybe my 5th or 6th time I've talked about this, Why we don't use string views? Because they never work out. There's always some point where you have to do a conversion for them, and so they don't really get much use in the ways I would like them to. There are some niche uses, but they're so niche that they rarely see the day of light. But most of the time in my game, I can't just pass them in as I please through parameters because it just doesn't work out, ever. So run strategy here, this is all fine. Up there, I just have to change these back to normal. So that is run underscore strategy. I feel like one day we will finally find a use for him. Maybe. Just maybe. One day. But this is a good lesson again. We've done this lesson a billion times now, so unfortunately we've done it again. GFR, okay. Looks like I modified this as well by accident. It's the CPP. Okay. Stone Golem, Stone Elemental Turret. Version, that's fine. And run right. Okay. So, if we've done everything correctly, we have reset all of our files to the state it was at before we started making any changes to string view. I'm just going to first do a clean build, and we're going to see where we're at, because we've been shaky for a little while. Too many include files. Oh no. Audio includes itself. How is that possible? Well, that's funny. How did that happen? Oh, I put the CPP file in the header. Well, that would definitely do it. So this is supposed to be the CPP file. I'm gonna undo that real quick. Wait. This didn't undo. Hello? Undo everything, please. Okay. And everywhere we use string view has to be replaced. So go back to that commit. We need to pull the changes one more time. And it was audio.h that we messed up on. Copy, paste. Okay. And then audio.cpp. Alright. I think we're okay. Recompile, please. I'm like, include file inclusions, like self include filing would be very strange. Alright, so we're in the middle of compiling right now. Okay, so I'm seeing some string view to string errors, so that will pop up in a second probably. And we're just going to be fixing those, because naturally we've found out we can't even use string view in the use case we want to, so that's got to go away. Alright. Let's start here. Insert no overload member function could convert all argument types. It's doing that const monster strategy int thing again, so we have to specify what it is we're adding specifically. Let's see here. Because I put strategy function, but apparently it's not getting the memo. Strategy function. And this insert is our custom insert, so it should be doing... It shouldn't be recognizing that as an int, at least I think. Maybe it doesn't recognize this. Do we have to... Am I gonna have to, like, cast that? It's kind of weird, right? I don't know. I don't know if that's actually has to be a thing, but... Okay, well... Computer decided it was time to die, I guess. Oh god. See what happened. I guess. So weird. Alright. Computer freaked out and killed every stream. That sucks. Okay. So let's see here. What happened? Where are we right now? So trying to match argument list for these guys and failing. Let me see. So overload member function not found. These guys are all still string views when they have to be strings now, right? I think that's what's happening here. Because we're going back to strings because that's essentially what we have to do. I'm adjusting all of these now for that. Standard string underscore view space const standard string ref. Like so. And I missed one. But yes, back to this, as it should be. And then run underscore towards as an example. Should now be defined appropriately. Let's see. Define strategy, so this is now string again. And then we have these config functions or macros, which are supposed to be const standard string now, so that should be good, right? I would hope. Declaration is incompatible still. Oh, should be const standard string ref. Okay. And we should be good now. Alright. Let's do another build. Oh, there's a landed. Function definition for landed not found. That's that right there. I don't know why it says it's not found. I think it's just being silly. So the good news is I'm seeing warnings. Less error-related stuff, so that's always nice. Hey is an ambiguous... Okay. So we're getting other errors that are more related to just fixing up like a couple of headers in the wrong place, maybe like a small typo. So this is all good things. Good things in the sense of we're almost fixed up. It looks like I just missed board completely. So that's hilarious. This should be define strategy. Or what is it called? Define underscore strategy. For. And then end underscore strategy. Okay. Key, a ambiguous symbol. So for this, we're gonna say thinks that's attribute. So using a equals OLC E A. Constant OLCA is not a type name? What? Oh, enum. Wait, enum? It's an enum, right? Yeah, they are enums, so does that not... Can we unusing something? Unusing? Or I guess we have to say, like, generally I would assume if we specify like, okay, it's OLC key A, right? That would work. Like, that's what I assumed would replace it with the new one. But constant OLCA is not a type name. Unless it just outright doesn't know what this is, which is unlikely. Well, this would definitely define OLC Pixel Game Engine, so that should be a thing. Can I just undef A? I don't think that's a thing, because I think that's macro related. Okay, well, in that case, we'll just do it directly. To be consistent, though, I might as well do it for all of these, right? Just to be consistent, since we're already in here. Oh goodness, there are so many. I can see here I've already done it for a couple of them, so might as well do it for the rest. And it will look like that. It will probably complain like this for Linux too, so I might as well have fixed that now anyway. Okay. Now convert from initializer list to strategy function. Let me see. Okay, so it's saying it's trying to convert to string views, so this still says they're supposed to be string views. Okay. Fix that. That should be fine now. These are still weird. Okay, yeah, they should accept copies, or not accept copies, but accept references. 2 strings. Oh my gosh, there's so many. Place them with const ref strings. Hopefully we're getting closer to a finally built product and no more string view shenanigans, right? That's really what we want, is no more silly string views, please. Term does not evaluate to a function taking 3 arguments. Oh, it looks like our find and replace missed one. Oh, that's cool. It looks like our enum thing actually does catch in errors. It's just we had so many errors before this wasn't popping up. But yes, you would do m.runStrategy hawk. Although, let me see here. You run major hawk. Wait a second. Hold on. Is that right? Use normal hawk behaviors when there are too many major hawks. Otherwise use major hawk behavior. Wait, that's interesting. We're actually passing in a custom set of behaviors. This is like next level. Oh my gosh. That's insane. Okay. So the way this works is it's supposed to be a quirk of my configuration system where I provide a separate configuration on top of the default override configuration. It's kind of confusing to explain, so maybe it's better to just show. In monsters.txt, for the major hawk, it has a hawk. It uses the major hawk strategy, and the major hawk strategy has a couple of overrides here. However, these are for the major hawk, and they actually override the same names of properties as the normal hawk. So if I go looking for just hawk, you can see here the hawk strategy also uses, well, actually I have to go to the strategies file. Right here, the hawk strategy file uses its own overrides. So the way we did it is it will behave like a normal hawk until a certain threshold, and then it will begin using these variables instead. So the way we did it, we kind of like hacked it together based on how the system used to work. So I'm kind of running into this issue where this behavior only existed because of a quirk in our old system. So I may just have to go ahead and fix that now, because where is this run strategy call? I can't even find it. Hold on. Oh yeah, it doesn't exist. I must have deleted it by accident. Something's wrong. That's probably where we are, is I made the change and then I deleted it by accident. Monster.h should have run strategy. It looks like it's just not, or I must have deleted it by accident, but all this should be in there. Let me look at monster.h. And okay, it is there, just unimplemented. So monster.cpp. I must have not copy pasted it. Yeah. Not realizing it was at the bottom, so it wouldn't have been copied in the first place. There it is. So we have 2 options here. We either provide an optional parameter that uses that name as the strategy name instead, which will get the correct config values, or we just change it to actually reference different variables. I kind of like this idea where we can specify a custom set of strategies. Maybe just as an override, right? So run strategy with the default of run the current strategy, but maybe the ability to specify another one via a string. I don't know, sounds kind of jank. I think we should fix the janky monster AI instead. I like that better, because it's basically breaking all the rules I established when it came to, oh, run a strategy via this exact thing. Like, it should be doing this on its own, no matter what. So the way we do this is in the AI, we actually write the correct strategy we want. So if major hawk count is less than or equal to the aggressive hawk count, run aggressive properties, right? Otherwise, run the hawk strategy normally. I guess my issue was I didn't want to copy paste the code again. So maybe I just wanted to reference it with different variables. But I guess then we would just write that in the hawk run strategy itself, assuming there were major hawks to begin with. So I don't know. That is a little complicated. Maybe we will just bite and say, hey, copy the hawk strategy with different variables. I think that's very fair. I'm more okay with that. So we copy this in, and we can define some kind of name that will be used for these. So instead of all this, let's just say config float. Are these all config floats? Yeah, it looks like everything is just config float, so let's replace it with aggressive in front of all of these. There we go. I think that works. That way it's just using those variables when the major hawk count goes down. So then in the major hawk strategy, we can just change every single one of these to be aggressive. Assuming they're all required, which they should be if they exist in the first place, like aggressive hawk count. I don't actually see that. Aggressive hawk count. Aggressive. Gosh, I can't spell hawk. Yeah, it's not in here. So where is it? Oh, it's in strategy, duh. Wait a second. Yeah, major hawk count, aggressive hawk count is... That's mid-phase, when attack. I guess final attack is what we're looking for? It just says aggressive hawk count, period. Zephy. Major hawk, there it is. Aggressive name check, aggressive hawk count, light charge cooldown. So with that in mind, all these come from there as well. Bum ba bum ba bum ba bum. I'm just trying to think. So if we supply them from that and they don't exist, what does it refer to next? It's like, did I change all these specifically? Aggressive flight oscillation amount? See, like that isn't... Oh, it is in there. So that's in there. Aggressive flight height's in there. Height variance. Flight speed variance. Flight height variance. Flight charge cooldown. So yeah, it looks like I copy-pasted all of these. I don't see the flight charge cooldown, so I must have not copy-pasted that. Also, what's up with this window not having a background anymore? That's funny. Something happened there. It probably happened over here too, because I'm like, yeah, we just lost a bunch of window stuff. So that's cool. That should be fine. Okay. But yeah, I don't see every property here, so that's telling me I didn't quite do this right, or I'm not... Okay. Let me just go to the Hawk AI and see what I'm missing. So, wing flap frequency... let me move this over there, so I'm not looking across windows. Flight height variance, speed variance, distance, oscillation amount, attack Z speed, attack wait time. So it looks like I just deleted the flight charge cooldown by accident. But yeah, that should be in there too, to override every single one. And we could even make it less. It can make it like 6 seconds or something. But it should be a lot less. I actually don't really see what the difference is either. I'm looking at this and I'm like, what is the difference? Like the flight charge cooldown? Yeah, I'm not understanding. Flight charge cooldown. Oh, I see. 3 seconds. Then why do I not... Okay. So I see what I did. I should have put the 3 seconds overwritten in here or make it the same. I guess I should make it the same if it's aggressive. Like, even faster, right? I guess so. That should work. But what happens when this variable doesn't exist, right? It's like, okay. The aggressive hawk count... Major hawk count is less than or equal to aggressive hawk count, which I guess is just 1. Because I put 1 here. Number of major hawks on the field to start using aggressive tactics. It's like, okay, well, if not, it's just using regular hawk strategy. Why do I have this variable in 2 places? I don't think I need to have it in 2 places. I think I'm just confusing myself, but that's the fix, is to prevent it from... Basically, I wrote a hack earlier to make that major hawk strategy work that way. So that should fix itself. Alright, so where are we with the build? So now, no overload function could convert all argument types of monster strategy, comma, int. So it's doing this again, where it can't convert these to the type it needs to. It's almost like it doesn't know what the type is here, which is interesting to me. Monster strategy and strategy function are enum and, well, this class. Like, unless I don't understand why that can't work. So no overload function can convert all the argument types, monster strategy, key or pair, monster strategy, comma, int. Trying to match the initializer list of safe map .h line 164. That would be this right here. Oh, this is the... Didn't I change that? I think I deleted it by accident. Yeah, I can try it again. It should be standard pair T, comma, O. And IntelliSense doesn't like that, but let me see. But that's what it should be, to insert it into the maps insert function. Strategy function. T would be monster strategy here. Does that fix it? Looks like so far so good. It should be the same thing as without the standard pair. It's just saying, well, it's complaining that it's trying to match an argument list with a const monster strategy int. I think it's found like another... It's found like another match for that pair. So it thinks it's that for whatever reason. So I'm being explicit with it to see if that helps. Kind of like hint, hey, this is what you're actually supposed to be. Okay, this doesn't exist anymore. But I can replace it with our new one. This should be monster strategies. Although I don't think it's accessible from here, is it? But it should be called monster strategies. Yeah, it's just inaccessible. Templates are weird. Templates are always weird. I don't understand them, so they're weird. So this is private. And we're currently in the monster data class. I don't mind friending it. I think it's a good use case. Because monster data is closely related to it, so I think accessing is okay. I don't really want to expose it though. because there's no need to. Strategy name is a const standard string ref. What? This is a... Oh. This needs to be an enum, so how do we do this? I guess we would iterate through these and just find it ourselves. So we can say for... We're just looking for one. So if it doesn't exist, then... How would I do this? I'm basically looking for the... If it doesn't exist, right? So filtering out anything that does have it instead of not. I don't know how I would describe that. It's like I'm trying to see if the list does not contain a value. Something in the ranges library that would do that for me easily, maybe? Let me see, where... What am I looking for? I need to go... This isn't... Is it... Okay, here's filter view, transform view, take view. A view consisting of the initial elements of another view until the first element on which a predicate returns false. Includes all elements of a range, elements of some other range, counted, split, elements, as const, reverse enumerate, values, adjacent transform, chunk by. Nothing here seems to do what I need to do. So maybe we'll just use like an algorithm instead. Like find if not, none of, checks if a predicate is true for all, any, or none. So that might be what we want. None of. Checks if unary predicate returns false for at least one element. Or 5. Checks if unary predicate returns true for none of the elements in the range, first to last. So I would say none of. Okay. And now check if it returns true for none of the elements. So basically we're going to do for monster strategies. We're basically doing a filter view and seeing if... Because it says checks if, so we can do like... I think we just do if, right? Monster strategies... none of? I think I have to do this differently though. None of is from standard ranges. Let me do that. Or let me try that. Standard ranges none of. Provided a range predicate. And it returns... What does it return? It just returns a bool. Okay, I guess that's easy. So the predicate here is... This will be a standard pair of monster strategy. Monster strategy? I forgot we're not in that class, so... Monster strategy, comma... monster strategy function. Reference... pair. And we're looking up whether or not... So we're seeing if strategy name here is equal to the first value in the pair, because that's the string. And we have to pass in strategy name. Okay. What is this? Oh, this... Wait. Pair.first should be the monster strategy. No, so we need pair.second.first. I think. Pair.second.name. Okay. Close that out. So this is supposed to be a range. I don't... So it doesn't think safe unordered map is... Like, I have to get the internal map, I think. Because this isn't the range itself. Although I thought I made something for this. Like, a range. I guess I can get the beginning and end and construct a range out of this. Like, standard ranges... Yeah, I feel like I have to construct a range because this thing doesn't have or come with one. Because normally a standard map, right, has the ranges in it already. It's built as a, well, these. So I could access it directly to get that. Maybe I should just do that, and probably that will save me some time to build it that way. Because I would try to like to use the ranges library more. I think that would be nice. But unfortunately, this safe unordered map doesn't have that for me. This is why what I should have done was actually inherited the map class when I made this. But I wasn't really thinking, I just kind of made it on the whim. So maybe providing that map directly would be nice. I'm thinking about it. Like provide the raw map. So in this case, it would be standard map. I guess I can just auto it. Map. And return map. Just like that. I think that would be pretty harmless and gives us an easy way to at least access it for a situation like this where we need it. Are you inaccessible? You shouldn't be. What? Oh, I named the function... Wait. I named the function the same as the actual member, so it thinks I'm trying to access the member? Is that really how that works? I feel like that's not how that works. But I could be wrong. Oh, okay. Well, it still doesn't like it. Oh. Yeah. So argument types are standard unordered map, and a standard equal to with a lambda. Object type is const standard ranges none of function. Yeah. Let me see what the template error says. That'll probably be more helpful here. Am I missing something else for none of? I don't think I am. None of with the projection. Standard ranges none of v. In this case, v is just some view or range. But God, they did a standard bind to this function, which makes it nigh unreadable, but that's funny. I think it would be cool to use it, but it doesn't seem like it wants to work. But this is simple enough to use too if we need to. We can just do no matching call operator found. Okay. Could be bool standard ranges none of. Iterator, or it could be this. Really? Expects 4 arguments to provided from algorithm, or monster data initialize monster data standard pair evaluate to false? Why would it do that? Oh wait, that's inside of there. Const int. Wait, does it not know? This is so confusing. Okay. I'm in template hell right now. Let's just try standard none of then, because it seems like I can't get it to recognize this range, which is funny. So in this case, I would do begin and end, and then the true and false. I love trying to use these, but sometimes they just don't work out. So we'll just use standard none of then. I guess I need to understand ranges more to really understand what's going on with the ranges stuff, because it is very confusing. Make it const? Sure. Let me see. We'll just try it. Nothing changes for IntelliSense. Oh, the key type. Let me see. Yeah, I don't think that's doing it. So complain about the same thing? Kind of. Yeah, it's not really giving, that's for sure. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, trying to use the ranges It's very complex. There's some internal understanding that I don't have to be using these well. Someday. Someday we'll get more understanding of these. Learning how to C++ is very much a learning process in and of itself. Okay, so we'll just use the non-range version, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I just thought it'd be fun to try something new. Same here, stuck on 14. Yeah! I would say the stuff from 17 was kind of cool, but getting to 20 is a big leap. There's so much in there. Okay. What else do we have to fix, if anything? Yeah, when it comes to like the metaprogramming stuff, that is all just... It just goes over my head right now. There is so much to learn there and so many weird quirks about it. I guess I'm removing this map function. I really don't want to expose the raw map if I don't have to, because that ruins the point of the class to begin with. And that was a quick fail. What happened? Oh, it's doing it again. Okay. I will be right back while waiting for this. Alright, what is left? Surely we're almost done, right? Okay, cannot convert all argument types for safe map. I think we've run into this before. Trying to match argument list standard pair TO with monster strategy function. It could be any of these. Oh, I see. It looks like the constness is changing in these. So that's interesting. And that's coming from trying to call just like plain old this one. Which is like just strange to me that it does that in the first place. I wonder what happens if I just supply the pair directly like it wants me to. I wonder if I can just auto these. Can I just auto everything? I wonder how that will resolve. I feel like every time I run into these like template things, I just end up autoing everything every single time. Well, so far it's not being terrible. Oh, I think it's done it. Let me see. It's done it again. Yeah. So I guess worst case scenario, I just call the insert function directly. Like, at this point, this isn't working on its own, so I may be forced to do that. I don't know. That's weird. It's like, what is insert anyways, but doing this, right? Like, didn't this work too? Essentially? I mean, the insert itself is supposed to have, like, extra return values in it, but who's to say I can't just make them my own like this? Right? Like, essentially that is the same thing, but I won't have to call the insert function and pass it around. Or maybe this will reveal something more. Who knows? It's like somehow one of these things will work. Oh, also, maybe we should just call this operator, because essentially it's doing the exact same thing. Like, insert is literally doing this. And so I wanted to have all these checks too, because that's the whole point of the safe map. Right arm 1, thanks for the follow. Welcome. It's like, where to proceed with this template? Okay. So the good news is it made that disappear, so I guess that's a good start. But it says now equals cannot convert from O to int. So this is telling me, like, if it keeps thinking it's an int, right? It's like, why does it keep thinking it's an int? That to me is strange. Like, either... Oh, wait. What is going... Wait, is this a typo? Wait, has this been here the whole time? Am I an idiot? Oh shoot. Wait, is this why my unordered map has not been working this whole time? Are you kidding me? Oh my god. How long has that been there? That's been there this whole time, hasn't it? I'm mad. I get to be mad. That's actually stupid. Okay, can I try, this now? I'm actually mad. So just pass in key? How do I pass in the first value, though? The object itself. How do I pass in the right-hand side? Can I pass in the right-hand side? I don't think I can. I think it just assumes whatever's in there was... Wait. I'm mad. That's actually stupid. I think I have to write it myself, which... Okay, fine. Fair. Oh wait. I know why this is the way it is. The map stores a list of the indices into this vector. I think this was done on purpose to order them, but then why am I using an unordered map, right? Has this ever worked? I'm confused now. That's what all this does, is it maps the item to the key, and then yeah. So the insert function doesn't insert into the map, it just puts it into items if it doesn't, basically this. So yeah, this is C++. Also, hello. Welcome. Yeah, no, I think I just... Can I even do this? Let me see. Like, is this even a thing? I don't think so. It would be like, you have to like dereference it. And then maybe you can do this. Alright, key. Right? Okay, so that would work. Funny enough. Which looks wacky, but it would work to essentially do the exact same thing. But essentially, I wanted to have the same behavior as if we used the array operator. So I think that will accomplish that too. So this is intentional, and maybe I'll write a comment there that says it is, because, well, let me look at this. A class that has an initialization lock, blah blah blah. This unordered map should return items inserted in order. Therefore, internally it's hosted as a vector. As such, if an item is added to this map, it's possible the reference becomes stale when another item is added due to a vector expanding. Why does this structure exist? Why would this ever be useful? Why would I not just use an ordered map? I guess order of insertion is what I was going for with this, but I don't understand why I would use it. Why are you building it? That's what I'm asking right now. And technically this has always been here, I'm just not sure why I would ever use it. Because I was just thinking, oh, I'm just gonna use an unordered map. Well, the initial idea of these safe maps is that I can lock them, so I can still use the array operator. But when they're locked, they're read only. So if I ever overwrite them, they die. Or it crashes, essentially. Like every time you add a key, it double checks if the size has increased. And if it's increased, we know we added a value from that, so it crashes. I essentially just called it a safe map, and I guess unordered map is supposed to do that too, but apparently it's still ordered, which is confusing. But the safe map.h error is gone. Run strategy is not an identifier that is found though, which, yeah, this is old, so now we call m.run strategy. Or in this case, I think it's just, we're in monster right now, so it's just run strategy. With the original strategy name... Oh, it wouldn't be the strategy name though, it would be the enum for the strategy that matches name-wise. Which we already solved. Let me go grab that real quick. Because I don't want to rewrite that. That took a minute. So it should be in... we're basically still in the process of restoring some old code that we messed up earlier when we did string view stuff, so I'm just bringing it all back. So here is this. Wait, is that right? No. It's just run... Wait, is this a macro? Where does... What is this? Run underscore strategy. What is that? Because that doesn't exist. As far as I can tell. Yeah, what is this? I don't understand what this is. I don't remember rewriting that. Run underscore strategy. I think we put that as a placeholder and said we were going to rewrite it and haven't done it yet. I think that was the idea. So if we're just running a monster normally, then the strategy itself will be, let's see. So we're gonna have to search our map. This also runs every single time, so I'm not sure if we want to cache this or not. I don't think it matters too much, but it does run every frame, which is my only concern. So we could make like a reverse lookup of like this string runs or matches this enum at the very least. Can you share a bit about the architecture of your game? I think it depends on what systems you're interested in, but for the most part, it is very like standard. Most of the game is just run under a couple of different lists. So there are vectors for monsters in the game. There's vectors for bullets, effects, and all the map tiles are stored in vectors as well. So most of it is just rendered by looking them up inside those vectors. And yeah, there's nothing like fancy. There's no like ECS or anything. The fanciest thing I think I've done to the game in terms of structure-wise is we've used the C++20 ranges and range views, which allow us to just access all the data structures without having to make copies of them. So like if I have to filter for something, I don't have to like copy the resulting list into another list that's filtered. I just have these views, which is essentially just a bunch of references, like accesses into those lists. So there's nothing really super fancy. It's just there's a lot of systems. Like there's structures for items. So like the item structure is a little weird because it's like a multi-hash map where multiples of the same item can exist for equipment. So, and a lot of it is just stored with shared pointers or unique pointers, depending on if I need to share the pointers across multiple places or not. Yeah. That gives you a very broad idea of how everything is stored in the game on a surface level. All the stuff regarding the UI is also stored in some kind of shared pointer list too, because the UI, let me see if I can, I forget what it's called, render HUD? Yeah. The UI itself is kind of like a stack, so you like put one window on top of another window, and whichever window is on the top of the stack is the currently active window, that kind of thing. I don't know if render HUD is for the windows. I think it's for others. Oh, maybe it's down here. HUD overlay. No, that's for something else. This is for like the game UI, not the windows. Have you done anything with art or rendering visuals? Yes. I mean, for the most part, the game is more than halfway done, I guess. So yeah. Plenty of things regarding graphics in here. I could probably show in a bit. We're just trying to get back to our compiled state from a large disarray of refactoring. So we're almost there. So you might actually be able to see that. Monster strategies. Okay, trying to get back on track here. So we want some kind of like reverse lookup structure here real quick. Let's put under monster as well. And all this will do is link our strings to monster strategies. Thank you. Yeah. So in here, and I don't mind talking about it too. I'm not in like any rush, but been chipping away at it, of course. It's a pretty large game and project at this point. So there's always a lot going on when trying to work on it. I'm gonna call this a string to strategies, strategy map or something. I think that's fine. Every time we insert one of these, we need to map it to its respective strategy enum. So I think we're gonna draw out a macro here for this, just to make it easier. So it would look something like every time we insert one of these like this, we would also insert into the string to strategy map. So it would look something like this. That string links to that strategy holds that strategy function. I guess that would be one way to do it. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, I like that. Either that, or we can do a direct reference to this, which already exists. Either piece of data is worth storing, so it doesn't really matter. Add strategy. I think that's a good name for this macro. And we'll just throw it in here. It'll look like... So it's gonna have the enum, I don't think I can use enum, but we'll see. Enum, the name of the strategy, and the strategy function. So it looks something like that. It might allow me, actually. It looks like it's not completely freaking out about that, but we'll see. Name is gonna go here, and function goes here. So if we were to do run towards, it would look something like this. Okay, looks like it's freaking out now, so I guess now is a good time to... Oh, never mind. I just forgot that. So run towards. Name would be run towards. And the function is in monster strategy. Oops, not that strategy. Run underscore towards. And I would even go as far as to say that this and the enum name will always match. So we could even go one step further and just use the enum in substitution of this right here and just have two arguments. Like that. And that seems to be okay, so we'll do that for all of these. So this is gonna be add underscore strategy. Provide those, and then the string. And that's pretty much that. Okay. So now we have a reverse lookup map. That is useful for... We go back to run strategy here. We have to supply the strategy itself. So we want to know, based on our current strategy name provided by this monster, what actual monster strategy enum we need to run. So that's what the lookup is for. So string to strategy map at get strategy name, and from there it'll do the rest. Either that, or I make it store the actual strategy and we can look up the strategy name from there. I think get strategy name is just kind of like an old carryover from what we did before, but at the same time it's still also immensely useful, so I'm gonna leave it for now. I'll just leave it. Okay, so let's go ahead and rebuild and see what remains. I do see a IntelliSense error, though. What is this? Spawner list? What happened here? It's just undefined? I must have deleted it by accident. Or I deleted an include from somewhere else that depended on that include, and now I have to add it here. Include spawner list. That's fine. And we'll hope that this will actually compile. We'll finally be at a good point to call it, really. Because the next thing we'll be doing is going back to implementing those monster spells. Because there are a few left. I'm getting a lot of these local function definitions are illegal. This line contains a brace which has not yet been matched. Uh-oh. Well, that can't be good. What? Yeah, it looks like I deleted a curly brace at some point. Because this looks off. I either added a curly brace where I shouldn't have, which is most likely the case. Or I deleted one where I wasn't supposed to. So this is... I don't even see where this matches. Hold on. There to here? Like, what changed? Did I just forget to put one at the end here? I did. Okay. That would explain that. Although, do I even need one? I think my intention was to just delete it. Yeah. That's probably what I meant to do. And then strategy data.count doesn't exist here either, so we can do the same thing with the standard none of again. Essentially the exact same thing, copy pasted, except its strategy for NPC name does not exist, and I have to capture that in. Okay. Slime King. Something with Slime King as well. Oh, looks like I just missed it too. Just some files that I ended up missing. So this is define strategy, Slime King, then end strategy down here. This thing is so old that I used magic numbers for the phases, which is absolutely hilarious. What is this? I don't know what my intention was here, but it looks very weird. It should be that. Okay. And like there's one more down here. It looks like it just used to be run strategy with that namespace, but that doesn't exist anymore. Cannot convert argument 1. Okay, let's see what's going on with that. We got a template error. So it can't convert const strategy function to a standard pair, so I must have mistyped that. This is supposed to be a safe unordered map with a .begin, which I provided. Oh, so it provides a vector. I forgot about this. So the vector that it provides just has all the items in it. So, unlike the ordered map, the unordered map, my custom unordered map, just provides a vector with the items in it. So it's not even a pair, it's just the actual data. I'll just say data.name, and that should fix that. At least I'm hoping it does. No function named name. It should, because that's one of its members. Yeah. And then we have the other none of, which should be the same case. Should be standard. Oh, it won't be a vector, it'll just be this, right? It should just be that. Data. I think I included the vector still, that's probably why. Yeah, oops. That's my fault. Just that. Okay. Same thing. Cannot convert const strategy function to... Maybe it wants to be const, huh? Const. Okay. Data const is undeclared identifier. Oh. How'd you get there? Misclick. Okay, We got some unresolved externals. We're missing string to strategy map and monster strategies defined. Okay, so we have to initialize them now because they're static. So we'll just put them at the top right here. Oops. I want to get rid of this, not expand it, please. So these are monster data. Colon, or not monster data, monster. And then these are not defined. How are they not defined? They should be a monster.h, which it's included, should be. Oh, they're in strategy helpers, which is also included. Struct strategy function. Oh, I'm gonna have to prepend the... because they're inside the monster class, which effectively makes them like a namespace. Okay. I think we're pretty much at that point now. Okay. So we're on to linking. So we finally have compiled after all that refactoring mess and unrefactoring and whatnot. We got to a point where we actually have our program. Okay, so I'm just gonna run it real quick. I think it's gonna complain about default pack ID. Yeah, so let me grab that real quick. For those that don't know, the pack ID is what encrypts the contents of my game, specifically the commercial assets. So I have to provide it so it will essentially be able to read those files. And if I ever have to restore, do like a git restore from the past like I did just recently, then we kind of lose that key because it has to restore from it restores all unstaged items, which that key stays unstaged. So just kind of a little quirk of how it's done. Anyways, that's in there, so now it's gonna load everything. We should be good to actually look at the game. The last thing we had to test for a game was seeing if the Blizzard cast would have worked from the Skeleton Frost Mage, which is currently just using a placeholder sprite. Strategy for Greg does not exist, apparently. That's weird. Why doesn't Greg have a strategy? Did I mess up? Is this just lying, or is it actually not existent? Let's take a look. Because I wrote this none of function to check through all of monster strategies, which I think should include, well, it should include NPC, and NPC should have, oh, there must be something else to this. I think it has to check like the name of the NPC on top of this. So strategy name comes from, wait, so it does use strategy name. Why am I passing NPC name into it? Because that's not what the strategy is called. It's called using the strategy name still. So that was incorrect. And that should fix that. So we just had a false error. Basically a forced runtime error. Okay. So I guess we want to see if this Blizzard cast actually looks the way we expect, right? Damn, your oldest video is 17 years old. Yeah. I've been around the block for a minute. So I'm just gonna get this thing to walk around me and see if it'll spawn. Actually, I don't think it even moves right now. I think it just tries to cast something eventually. I don't know what I put for the percentage, but I think he'll do it eventually. Like a billion minutes. Oh, there we go. Let's see if it did anything. It looks like it didn't actually do anything with the cast, but you can tell it's casting because it changes that little outline animation to that. So it's doing something. Clearly not what I need it to do though. Okay. Let me look at, where'd this be? This would be in monsters. So let's go there again. I think I moved the file over here actually. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna put you back here, and inside of Frost Mage we have Blizzard, which is 50 MP, 60%. I don't think the 60% is right. It's supposed to be 60 mana cost 60% of the time, with a 1.5 second cast time, and the freeze ground is supposed to be 30 mana with a 20% chance of casting, and it takes... oh, it's instant. Okay. Well, my guess is either it just didn't cast it, or it casted it... I guess we can look at the breakpoint now. Now that we're at a point where the game's running again, I have to readjust my head back to game developer mode. Oh, there's literally nothing in here. Okay, so that's where we left off at. This is where we were before we started all the refactoring shenanigans. We got to the point where, okay, this actually passes in correctly and everything's happy. So, we're at a good point. The next thing we would do is we would actually create that effect. So, it would be add effect, let's see, and then we would make the effect, make unique. It would be a blizzard, and the blizzard's parameters, we got the position, so we'll just use the cast pause. We have the radius. I think radius, so we have to make a bunch of variables because that's essentially where this information comes from. So that will come from our spec. The blizzard has a 350 radius, so I would put blizzard radius here, which is 350. I need more tabs. I can actually do this. I think I like that. Okay. So then we would call config float blizzard radius. And the whole reason this all started was because this config float used to require the strategy name to be passed on to it. It actually technically shouldn't need that anymore, because what we should be able to do now is derive the strategy name from there and remove it. So that's actually going to be our next step, is we're going to get rid of this strategy parameter, because if we know what the monster is, we know what the strategy parameter is, because we can get the strategy parameter from it. So that's like the next step. What we're going to be doing next is configuring it that way. I at least would like to do that. I think there's still the hiccup of which strategy name parameter it's supposed to use, but we'll figure that out next time. So we are out of time, but I am glad we're at a point where the game compiles again and runs. I'm actually going to comment this out and commit this, because that's actually pretty important to be at a stable build again. And yeah, let's get that. So this is refactored monster strategy calls to not rely on the string name of the strategy. And what else did we do? We did something else. We also... oh yeah, we cleaned up how strategy calls our strategy files are structured. Yes. And that is release build. What's our release build? 12526. Okay. Cool. Alright. So yeah, this is a good stopping point for today. Tomorrow we can do more fun stuff and stop worrying about refactoring everything. There is a small refactor I still want to do, but this one will be really easy because now we have all the restructuring done to make it so we can handle that now. Because the beauty of defining or linking the string name to the strategy name is now all these like config functions, they don't need to know the strategy name because the strategy the monster has is tied in there already. So that makes things easier. At least it should make things easier. Why are we stuck? Don't know if we're stuck for a bad reason or we're stuck because it's like a big commit. It's not really a big commit though. That's the thing. It's just like stuck trying to pull the current branch. I almost want to do a manual git run instead. Let me see, git status. Always a good idea. Your branch is, so we're on branch, nothing to commit, working tree clean. I feel like the UI just gave up and froze then. Okay, but we have 2 commits. Git push. Probably the push didn't happen, right? Looks like it's just stuck. Is my server dead? I hope my server isn't dead. Oh, maybe my server's dead. Well, that's no fun. Why is my server dead? Well, this is fine. I'll have to look at this later. I guess it's Linux admin time next time. Alright, well, I'll call it here. For those of you that tuned in, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.